Are you a no drama person?
Come on, look at me.
Who are you?
Guess you'll never know now.
You grew up in India, but I didn't have you living in Queens as a teen.
Girls wore makeup in like middle school. I was like, yes, I want to study in this magical land of vanity.
Miss India.
How did you decide to do the pageant?
He just wanted to get me out of the house and get his room back.
What is your karaoke song?
I ain't gonna be that fool. Especially around my husband. No way I'm picking up a mic next to that.
Hey family, Carlos Watson here. Got a great show for you. Former football star turned barbecue master Willie Fairley in Iowa of all places, lighting up the food world. A great story from my friends at Discover. You're gonna love this story. You're gonna love meeting Willie. But first, I've got one of the world's biggest stars, Priyanka Chopra, stopping by. You know her as a wonderful actress, filmmaker, now a new author, just doing all sorts of special things. I didn't know that she was a musician. Did you know that she was signed to Interscope Records back in the day? Great story. You're gonna love getting to know her better. Straight ahead.
The Carlos Watson Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance.
Priyanka, I like the fireplace behind you.
Thanks, babe. I committed to the Zoom interview thing a long time ago. Just like you kind of have a background and, you're like, okay, this is my office. That's what I've done. I got myself some Amazon lights, got a digital camera, little fireplace,
I love it. And what's London like right now? Is it freezing?
I mean, it's gray like London usually is, but we're in a full lockdown right now here. So you're just going to studio and home. It's kind of crazy.
Priyanka Chopra Jonas is one of India's highest paid and most popular entertainers. Moving to the United States at age 13 to study, she fell in love with acting and was later crowned the winner of the 2000 Miss World pageant when she was 18 years old. Priyanka's talents led her to being cast in a number of huge roles, playing FBI agent Alex Parrish in the thriller series Quantico, making her the first South Asian to headline an American network drama series, and most recently in the satirical drama The White Tiger on Netflix, which she also executive produced.
Giving back has to be a way of life.
With over 60 million Instagram followers, Priyanka has used her platform to bring awareness to a number of global issues, including poverty, the state of the environment, and women's rights. Priyanka's fairy tale love story with superstar singer Nick Jonas started when the Jonas Brothers slid into her Twitter DMs back in 2016, and the rest is history. The couple recently celebrated their 2-year wedding anniversary. Now, are you an exercise person? Do you run or do anything like that to clear your mind or give you a little bit of peace?
Well, not for joy, but for my job, yes.
That is hilarious. I love that. That is good. Wait, now, did you ever play a sport or no? Were you ever...
I, for a very long time, got away with having a really, fast metabolism, but you touch your 30s and then, it's like, So now, yes, I'm someone who works out 5 days a week. I think I'm strong because I've been a dancer, I've done stunts, my job sort of requires me to be physical. It helps to be able to have that agility in my job both ways,
You made me smile. You completely surprised me. This was a couple years ago. I think you said that you had a crush on...
What do I do now?
Well, no, it was beautiful. And actually, you totally made a big new fan. Did I hear you say that Tupac was a crush of yours back in the day?
Yeah, think about it. This was like 1996, and I was living in Queens, New York at that point, just about finding myself. And he was a large part of it. I just discovered that music. I had just discovered hip hop in general, Dre, TLC, Destiny's Child. This was at that turn when, I was a teenager, and he was a large part of that for me. I was very, very upset when, he was shot.
So take me back to Queens. For some reason, I had missed that. I felt like you grew up in India, traveling the world, but I didn't have you living in Queens as a teen. So catch me up there.
I lived in India till I was 12 years old, and then I came to the US to visit my mom's family. I was kind of bought in by the big high schools and the not having to wear uniforms. And girls wore makeup in middle school. At that time at 12, I was like, yes, I want to study in this magical land of vanity. So I lived in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I was in Indianapolis for a bit. I was in Queens, actually, for a good year. Then I was also in Newton, Mass, before I went back to India.
And so what did they call you? Did they call you Priyanka? Did you have a nickname at that point?
Most people call me Priyanka or Pri, but at that time it always changed. Like I had a lot of like street names, like I was like Pri, AKA Sunshine, AKA whatever,
And where in India did you grow up?
Well, because my parents were in the military, we moved every 2 or 3 years. So, I lived in New Delhi, I lived in Lucknow, I lived in Pune. There were so many cities that I moved around in.
And were you a quiet kid? Were you confident kid? Were you now the young woman who had like been in Newton and New York and everywhere else, and so she was kind of the local superstar? What were you like?
Yeah, it was kind of all of those things. I was a very confident kid growing up. I used to always be playing with the boys. Like I was always the, ready to tumble, climb the trees, take the bike out kind of girl. And then as soon as I was 13 years old, I moved to the US, and it was like Saved by the Bell for me.
Time out!
I looked different, I felt different. But by the time, I went back to India, I had, found my feet. I was a little bit of a local peacock, and I didn't mind showing my feathers off.
And are you the only child, or do you have brothers and sisters?
I have a younger brother, but I was the only child for about 7 years, so I hated it when he came into the picture. I was like, what is this thing doing in my world?
And did you ever turn into the good big sister, or no?
Like after I was maybe 22. Up until then, I was just like, you in my space.
Ready? Very good. And one more for good luck.
And Miss World 2000 is Miss India.
How did you decide to do the pageant? Like, how did this young woman decide to go on this journey?
So when I came back to India and I was 17, my brother was 10 years old, he was kicked out of his room and he hated me for it. He was like, who is this chick that's come into my life? And he, at 10 years old, we used to watch the Miss India pageant every year, like it was a thing.
Right.
At 10 years old, had the idea to tell my mom, I'd gotten these mall shots, the ones with like soft focus, your hand on your face, and he had them in front of her. And he said, why don't we send these pictures in? And maybe, she'll have to go to Mumbai if she gets selected. He just wanted to get me out of the house to get his room back. And once I got selected, I'm competitive. So you put me in a competition and I'm going to swim.
Ain't nobody like my Mexico.
And, that's just how it happened. It wasn't something I grew up with as an aspiration. It was my brother and his, his pageantry suffragist.
Wait, so that is brilliant and tip of the cap to brother. What's your brother's name?
His name is Siddharth.
So wait, what would happen if Sid hadn't suggested that?
I was actually applying for a scholarship program for an engineering. I was very into math and science at that point. So I was very curious about all of that. I might have gotten into tech if I hadn't have done this. But whatever it would have been, I would have swum real fast.
And is that from your mom, from your dad, or from someone else? Where's this good competitive fire come from?
Both my parents were physicians and very competitive in wanting to build a better life for themselves. And that was always encouraged in me too, to, want more for myself.
Did you ever have meaningful fear, and do you still? Because a lot of people are ambitious. Some people dream fearlessly, but a lot of people, we hesitate, we feel stuck, we feel like we're not quite sure. Did you ever have any of that, or no? Were you blessed in a different way?
Of course. No one has a 100% track record of being a certain way. Change is the most constant thing in life. And, there are times where I felt stuck, and it's okay to be stuck for a little while. And it's okay to feel vulnerable, and it's okay to leave something unfinished as well. Like I have tried various things because I like to try new things and I want to evolve But when something doesn't work out, you have to give it your 100% and then just back off. Try something else. Aaliyah said this, dust yourself off and try again. It's really as simple as that.
How are you going to win points like that, like quoting Aaliyah, may she rest in peace? That's great. All right, so what is your karaoke song? If you and a well-known singer, I'm assuming your husband, were to do karaoke, what is your individual song and what is your duet?
I hate karaoke. I'm terrified of karaoke.
No.
I love being a spectator of karaoke. I love watching my friends make fools of themselves, but I ain't gonna be that fool.
I'm a sucker for you. Say the word and I'll go anywhere blindly.
Especially around my husband. No way am I picking up a mic next to that.
So how is marriage? Have you learned anything really substantive and interesting about love and about marriage?
The one thing that I've come to recognize is it doesn't have to be crazy, extravagant, and large. It's the normal love that's beautiful, It's like having conversations for hours and not remembering what you talked about, Little things like that. I never realized that that's what was really beautiful.
Ava DuVernay, who I know you're working with, said something kind of similar, being open and not forcing it into a space.
Not needing to force it, just being at peace with it being around you and allowing it to engulf you. And no drama is great.
And are you a no drama person? Are you a...
Come on, look at me. I'm not a no drama girl. Even if I tell you it is.
Right.
Obviously, things have to be interesting as you go along the way, and a little drama is necessary, but it doesn't dictate life.
I always love when couples come together who may not be in the same space, and maybe they can learn something from another space. What have you learned about the music business since being married?
Well, I didn't learn anything since being married to Nick about the music business. I was signed as a recording artist to Interscope for a while. But what I learned about the music business is that at that point, I didn't have anything to contribute to it.
I loved seeing you talk about issues of poverty, of fairness. It feels like you genuinely think about it on multiple levels. Have you learned anything interesting about fairness, about poverty in the last year or two?
We all talk about being woke and we all talk about being aware of what's just and what's right. But how much are we really doing about it? How desensitized are we as individuals to the world that exists around us because we're so focused on our sole ambition? And I think that's really important, to inculcate empathy, compassion in our children, in our acute environment, because both can exist together. I can only do it in my own way. And as a filmmaker, as a producer, my company was built about 7-8 years ago. I founded the company. I had done almost 10 movies in India, which, gave opportunities to new directors, new writers, told regional, local stories.
You are a great man who's going to do great things in India, sir.
I think it's wrong the way you work for us. What is it that you want to do?
I want to serve you and Ashok sir.
No, you can't possibly believe that.
Like a movie like The White Tiger, for example, a movie with an all-Indian star cast, to be the #1 movie in one of the largest streaming services in the world is historic. And that to me is a great sense of pride and joy, to be able to bridge that gap. When I first came into Hollywood, I heard so much of the fact that, movies or entertainment with Black and brown people doesn't resonate. And in the last 5-6 years, we've proved that wrong. When I did Quantico, I was the first South Asian lead of a network show ever. And that was 2015 in American television. That's crazy. But it took pounding the pavement and it took breaking down doors and we are seeing the change. But I think progress is made by people who demand the change, and progress can happen anywhere.
Talk to me about your book. Was it painful? Was it exciting? Was it a combination? Did you do it because you had to? What made you write the book?
I was approaching 20 years in the business, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something I've been afraid of. And I decided to write the book. And I thought writing a memoir would be super easy because, it's your life and you've lived it. But it's not. I had to corroborate my memories with everyone in it. It was a really, really hard thing to actually deal with things that you'd left behind. So it was cathartic, healing, difficult, hard. But on the other side of having finished it, I'm really proud of the choices I've made.
If I gave you a do-over, what would you go back and take a do-over on in this life? What would you reconsider?
I don't know. I maybe would have taken a little bit more time off when my father was really unwell. But because my dad was my biggest champion, he used to force me to go back. He was like, why are you in the hospital? Just go to work. Why aren't you on set? But in retrospect, I wish I had not done that one movie or, just taken that time to be with him.
I want to do something fun called rapid fire, if you don't mind. I'm going to hit you with a variety of things, and I'd love your immediate reaction.
Okay.
Are you more of a surfer or a rocker?
I love the ocean, but I can't surf. I can't rock, but I love the rock star vibe. So I think I'm a little bit of both.
Your favorite recent book? What book have you enjoyed recently?
There's this book called Homegoing, and I've been telling all my friends to read it. It's a testament of family, of sisterhood, of culture, and I would really recommend that book to you.
A celebrity friend of yours that would surprise people?
Kerry Washington. She is, when you meet her, it really is surprising how she engulfs you with so much love and affection.
Priyanka, what just an absolute pleasure. I was a big fan before. I'm a bigger fan today. I love thinking about you and Kerry Washington and Ava DuVernay and other interesting people, kind of reimagining what's possible. And I hope you continue to do that.
I hope so too, Carlos. This was so good. Thank you so much.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Priyanka. I love her hustle. She described it, her energy, her confidence. Not surprised to hear her say that her parents inspired it in no small part. What a beautiful underpinning. Excited to see what she does and love hearing that her friendship group includes people like Kerry Washington and Ava DuVernay. What goodness could come about in the world because of all that. I am going to get her to sing karaoke, though. We'll see what happens next time. Hey, I want to turn your attention to a very special new guest, Willie Ray Fairley. If you don't know the name, that means you don't love barbecue. Willie Ray is based in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. As you know, COVID has been devastating for so many people, particularly Black restaurateurs. And so our friends at Discover ended up doing something special over the last year. They awarded $25,000 grants for the most community-minded Black-owned restaurants anywhere. Overall, their Eat It Forward program has given some $5 million, and one of them is Willie Ray's Q Shack in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Take a look at this wonderful Discover spotlight. You're going to love meeting him. Bravo, Discover. This is a story about a man who was tired of eating bad barbecue.
How you doing today, sir?
A man who stepped up when his community was knocked down.
I've been thinking, I want you to be happier.
Cause it's all passion and love over here. It's done from the heart.
As a young kid growing up in Mississippi, Willie Fairley dreamed of an NFL career.
When I was younger, I could have ran with Lamar Jackson. If I would have stuck with it.
The gridiron didn't work out as he had hoped. Feeling a little stuck, he threw a Hail Mary and followed his brother to Iowa.
I didn't feel I had a bright future there, so I had to migrate to a better place and try something different.
One day, as he drove the streets of Cedar Rapids, an empty building sparked a bold idea.
My dad, he's a big barbecue guy. Still does it to this day, and he got the big smokers also.
So when the owner of the building took a chance on Willie, Willie Ray's Q Shack was born.
Q stands for quality. People love the ribs.
Soon, word of his delicious ribs spread across the Hawkeye State.
Well, I started Willie Ray's Q Shack July 8th of 2019. Jumped out there, leap of faith. The mission was to create something to change the wealth in my family.
I need a dollar, that's what I need. Hey, hey.
But by August of 2020, a devastating storm would test Willie's fate.
Out of my car, and I hit head first into the storm. You could see trees flying in the air.
After finally realizing his dreams, would it all be swept away with the storm?
I told my lady I'm gonna go check on the shop. Checked on the shop, came back, and I realized I had so much food that I had because I had just put my order in. And I loaded up the food, came home, and I'm gonna fire up the grill and make sure everybody get a little bit, and started from there.
Willie fed the entire neighborhood.
You know, that's a big thing to me is giving back. You know, I don't have a lot to give, but if I can give something to put in that belly, and it's one thing I'm able to give is food.
Willie weathered one storm, but COVID was still swirling.
We was almost gonna close down because the pandemic kind of had me a little spooked for a little bit. You know, they recommend a drive-through, and then I had a drive-through, and before you know it, people was coming from all angles.
Come they did. So deeply moved by Willie's sacrifice, the neighborhood wanted to do something for Willie.
Well, I had no idea about the Eat It Forward program with Discover. And when we was giving out food, people started nominating Willie Ray's Q-Shack for the Eat It Forward, and I was like, what is Eat It Forward?
The Discover Eat It Forward program is a $25,000 award meant for the most caring and community-minded Black-owned restaurants in the country.
I was grateful the fact that so many people nominated me.
Willie won $25,000.
It gave me chills when I looked at it because it was so mind-blowing that so many people recognized what we was doing and really appreciated our service for what we was doing. Appreciate it, man.
Hey, big thanks to Discover and congrats to Willie. Touchdown all around. Let's eat. Hey, thanks to Willie and everyone at the Q-Shack. Love what those guys are doing. Love what Willie has built. If you want to find more Eat It Forward winners near you, you can go to www.eatitforwardterms.com/winners. All sorts of good people doing good things there. Hey, big shout out to Discover. Love you guys for what you're doing. What an important program. More good things ahead for all of these restaurateurs. If you're enjoying the Carlos Watson Show, remember you can get more of it every weekday. Subscribe if you have not already. Enjoy our podcast. It's a beautiful one. And guess what? Tell a friend. Good stuff here. I'll see you soon.